Today's webinar specifically covers a new feature that we're rolling out that I think most of you who use LeadFerret already will find extremely useful. This feature is already available on the site, has been for a couple days. We're just going to cover very quickly today in 20 to 30 minutes how to use this new feature. I'm going to be running some searches and looking at some records in LeadFerret, but for the most part assuming that most of you already have a basic knowledge of how the existing features prior to a couple days ago work in LeadFerret, and that this webinar is really all about learning how to use this new feature, which we call the named target contact list feature. So to back up just a step, the target contact lists are essentially like a shopping cart or a layaway. It's a way for you to take records and set them aside, and you can either download with points at a later date, transfer to SalesNexus for those of you who are SalesNexus users, or to simply use right there on the site. You can actually use LeadFerret, as many of you do, as a call list, as a prospecting list directly through the site, and the target contact list allows you to run a lot of different searches or browse through companies and contacts individually, add those to your target contact list, and then access them at a later date. And we're going to go through all that. But now what you can actually do is you can have multiple target contact lists. So if you're a sales manager or you small business owner and you have multiple agents or reps or salespeople, each one of you can actually create a targeted list for each of them, name it, manage it, add contacts to it, take contacts out of it. We're going to show you how to do all of that today. It's a really cool feature. So I'm logged in here to the search panel, and let's go ahead and run a new search. So the first thing you want to do, as always, to build a target contact list is start running some searches. Let me expand this. So I've got a search here that I've already run where I'm just simply looking for managers that with sourcing in their title. So sourcing managers. This is just a sort of random example of something that you might target or your company might target. So as you can see, I got just under 4,000 results here. And let's say that there are several different ways that you can use the target contact list, and therefore several different ways that you can use the named target contact list. So let's start with an example where you simply want to go through these 9,000 or these just under 4,000 records, and you want to select individual records to consider to add to your target contact list. So you might look through here and see, you know, this contact looks good, this contact looks good. You might see a few more. You can also, of course, drill down into the details. Perhaps you're looking through this contact and you say, yeah, this contact looks like somebody that I want to add to a named target contact list. And just as a refresher, you would typically select records like this and hit target selected, and that would add those to what we now call your general target contact list. So you have a general target contact list, which is those that you don't want to name, but you also have named target contact lists, which allows you, again, to segment and manage the data a little bit better. So in this first example, let's say on the first page, I simply selected 5 records that, after reviewing their details, and I decided that they were targets that I want to prospect to. So I'm going to start. What I can simply do is say target these contacts, and now you're given some options. What target contact lists would you like to add these contacts to? You can add them to your general target contact list, which any of you who have target contacts already already have a general target contact list. So this list already exists for all of you as long as you've added at least one contact to your target contact list in the past. So I can do that and hit OK, and those will just be added to my target contact list. Or I can add them to an existing named list, and I actually only have one named list so far that I've created, so you can see that listed here, but if I had multiple, there would be multiple, and I can add those to that existing named target contact list. Or I can create a new named target contact list. So let's do that for starters. So this is, we'll call this hand-picked, I will call it sourcing managers handpicked. And I hit OK. And now it's going to actually add those to it's going to create a new target contact list with that name that I gave it and add those records to it. And now it confirms contacts targeted. Your contacts have been added to Sourcing Manager handpicked. That's the name of the list I gave it. I say OK. Now let me go to my dashboard and jump over to Target Contacts. And when I pull up my Target Contacts, you will see that I have my general list, which has 130 target records in it. I have this other target contact list that I had already created, a named target contact list. And then I have my sourcing managers, which, as you can see, has 5 records in it. Now, from here, I can do a multitude of things. First, so by default, my general target contact list is loaded. But by simply clicking on this list that I just created, I can load the records in that list and display those, and I can add those records. I can remove those records from this list, add more records to it. Of course, I can, as always, drill down into the details for any one of those records. There's several other things that I can do as well. So it's just like my search results at this point. I can actually take this brand new named target contact list that I just created, and I can rename it. So I can say, okay, sourcing managers, handpicked. I'm going to add some more records that aren't going to be as handpicked, so I'm going to change the name of it to just sourcing managers. Rename. And I've now changed the name of that named target contact list. Again, as I'm going through this, if you have any questions, please do submit them. We'll be more than happy to try to answer them as real time as possible. Oftentimes, if something's unclear during the webinar, somebody can help clarify whatever your question might be. Okay, so example number 1, created a basic name target contact list, hand selecting some records, renamed it. Of course, I can delete it. By clicking here, I can load the list by either clicking this button or simply clicking on the name. It tells me how many records are in the list. Here, I have 5 records in the list. If you end up developing, dozens or even hundreds of named target contact lists, you can also search for a named target contact list by name. So let's say you develop hundreds of call lists for your salespeople, and you have a salesperson named Robert. You could simply search for all lists that belong to Robert if you put his name in the name of the target contact list by typing it in there. Also, there's this feature where you can lock the list. So what this basically does is you have to unlock it before you see. Now you can see that one is locked. You have to unlock that before you can make any changes. So it's just a preventative step to help you from avoid accidentally deleting or renaming lists that you do not intend to. Okay, so let's take a look at another example and another way to build named target contact lists and look at some of the other variations. So I've created this list named sourcing managers from this search result. But let's say that I now want to add some contacts to it. In this case, I'd select manager sourcing. But let's say I want to add some director level contacts to that same list. So what we'll do is I select director, run another search. Did I run search? Yeah, oh, there it is. And now I have directors of sourcing. And let's say I want to add those, even though I named that list manager sourcing. We'll rename it to sourcing. But let's say I want to add some to that. But this time, instead of hand picking a few, let's just say these all look good. Let me add the first 30 records to that named target contact list. So again, I type in 30, target first 30 records, clicked on the records is actually where the button is. And let's say now I want to add these records to an existing named target contact list. So I'm going to select sourcing managers, and I'm going to say, okay, add the first 30 records from these search results to that named target contact list. Okay, it confirms that it's been done. I can now go back to my target contact list, and you see this, the sourcing managers went up from 30 or from 5 to 35. Now it's no longer just managers, so I can unlock the record or unlock the named list, and I can go in and I can say, you know what, now I want to rename this to just sourcing. Rename. And so what you start to see is that you can set records aside in sublists or separate named lists, and you can really manage those named lists. That's really the intent of this whole tool, is to allow you to not only create a target list, but to really manage the records within that target contact list. Okay, so back to our search page, and let's look at some other features and capabilities here. Let me start by running a new search. So let's say we want to look at a different type of contact. Let's say we want to look at VPs, directors, managers related to products, and run that search. And now we're going to take this search, and instead of adding it to a named target contact list, I'm just going to show you how to add some of these results and here's all of our records, 10,000 contacts. And this is more or less a refresher of the existing functionality that we had for named target or for target contact lists, but in the new interface. So I can again say target selected. I've hand selected a few records, and I can simply add them to my general target contact list. And there's a very specific reason I want to show you this. First of all, just show you all the different options within this interface, but also many of you may have previously used the target contact list, and there may be some features that you were familiar with and comfortable with that some slight changes have been made to, so I want to make you aware of those. So as you can see, these contacts that I selected and added to my general target contact list, there's now this button over here where it says target has been lit up in red, and any of you who used this button previously may be asking yourself, you know, how is this button and indicator affected by these changes? And the simple answer is this button and indicator, which is this red target here on the right, is now specific to your general target contact list. So it indicates records that are in your general target contact list already, and you can add contacts to your general target contact list by clicking on this button. So this is a feature that allows, you know, single-click addition of records to your target contact list, and now is specifically for your general target contact list. If you want to add contacts to your named target contact list that you create, you no longer use this feature over here, the red target button, and it's also no longer an indicator of the record being on or not on a target contact list for any of you who were familiar with that. Okay, so now let's run a couple more examples here. Let's take the first 25 records here and add them to a target contact list. Now, a handful of them are already on my general target contact list, but now we can select, again, create. So this was basically product decision makers, and we can create a new list doing that. And we've created that, and again, now I can go to Dashboard, Target Contacts, go right up here. This is the window that I already had open. And when this refreshes, you will see that Product Decision Makers is now one of my lists. Again, I can click on the name to load that. Now, while that list is loading, I'm going to open up and see if we have any questions that people have in particular that I can answer. Okay, so I've loaded these 25 records that are in this target contact list. Again, as always with your target contact list, you can send this to a rep, have them start calling on it. You can use it yourself to go through and start emailing and calling people. You can, of course, as always, drill down into the details. And of course, now, since this is a named target contact list, just like your general target contact list, you can also say, you know what, these contacts, I've called them or tried to contact them or taken a further look at them, and I've decided that they're really not in my target contact list. So I can select them, and I can say untarget selected, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 records. And we had 25 records there. Now you can see when I load this page, you can see, when this page reloads, you'll see that the number of records on that list has gone down, or should. So yeah, those should be removed from that list. So that's essentially how you can manage and move records in and out of your target contact lists. You can, if you want to use target contact lists just as you have in the past, then you would want to simply work with your general target contact list. That's essentially unchanged. The only major difference is that when you do go to target contacts, you have this choice. But definitely, I think many of you will find the features that now allows you to name and assign target contacts to different target contact lists. I think you'll find that very useful. So I'm going to see if there are any questions. This is we do intend to keep these webinars relatively short, to the point, and basically demonstrate the feature and how to use it. And we're definitely aiming to do that more frequently. Our webinars, we typically promise 25 to 30 minutes. They typically take 35 to 40 minutes. Today we're really just focused on this one feature, and I think we'll be able to wrap up pretty well on time. But just some ideas regarding target contact lists and named target contact lists. Again, you can use them to create lists for territories. You can use them to create lists by industries. You can use them to create lists for particular sales reps, or lists for specific days, things of that nature. So somebody asks, can I write notes and link them to a list? Yes, those are really two completely independent features. So let's say that you have any record you can add a note to. So this is a list, and you can add any record to a list, but you can also open up any record, whether it's not in a list, like your general search results here, or in a list, like here. You can go into the comments tab, and you can make a private note, and that's essentially notes for yourself. Only you will see when you come back, and yeah, those will be available, again, whether that record is in the list or not. So those are two independent features, really. Okay, so somebody else asks, or actually the same person, can you create a sublist? And these are actually all, these are actually all sublists. That's really what a named target contact list is. If you wanted to create sublists of these sublists, what I would recommend doing is simply using a naming convention that will allow you to do that. As I mentioned before, if you had a sales rep named Robert, you could start all of his lists with the name Robert, and then that would essentially create a series of sub-lists within these lists that were those starting with the name Robert. Or if you had, Northwest Territory or just the Northwest as a sales region, you could start all lists with NW, something like that. Another person asks, are all of these features available with the free subscription? The answer is yes, they are currently available to all users. They will always be available in some capacity to all users, free or premium, but at some point we will be limiting the number of lists of target contact lists that you can create. So free users might only get 3, whereas premium users might get more. For example, we're basically waiting to get feedback from some of our users who frequently give us feedback on this kind of stuff. Also, I pointed out or utilized the target first X number of records, in this case 25, tool during the presentation, and that feature is of course always only available to our premium users. And not to turn this into a sales pitch, but to answer the question fully, our premium subscriptions do start at about $20 a month, which gives you 200 points and gives you access to all kinds of features like that. Let me see what other questions we have. Okay, so that in a nutshell is the target contact name target contact list feature that we've just added and how to use it, hopefully some ideas as to different ways that you can use it.